So good morning. My name is Dave Shunk, and I am the president and CEO of Volunteers of America, Colorado. We are a faith-based nonprofit serving Coloradoans throughout the state in the areas of housing, nutrition services, and connection. And it's just so good to see everybody. I'm also honored and fortunate to be the board chair for the Colorado Business Roundtable. And on behalf of the Roundtable Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to our event this morning, View from the Top. I want to take a moment and just thank my fellow board members from the Roundtable. Your leadership and dedication to our mission is invaluable, and we are grateful to have you here. Show of hands, how many other Roundtable partners are there out there this morning? Just raising, there we go. We got quite a few. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your support of this mission. The Roundtable brings together the expertise and the experience of more than 70 CEOs and top executives from Colorado's largest employers, spanning academia, business, community organizations, and government. This collaborative network reflects the strength of the Roundtable and our shared commitment to fostering a vibrant economy that benefits everybody. One of the main reasons that I'm involved in the Colorado Business Roundtable is the belief in the value of a job to create dignity, opportunity, and financial security for individuals and families, people that we serve at Volunteers of America, Colorado. Sound public policy decisions that promote job creation, a robust and thriving economy, and ultimately prosperity for all are so important, especially for nonprofits like mine. You see, history has proven time and again that when businesses prosper, communities prosper. And when communities prosper, individuals flourish. And that's what we see in Colorado, and that's what you see throughout history. And this is one of the many reasons that the Roundtable is so important for and vital to Colorado. And this is why we say at the Colorado Business Roundtable that indeed business is a force for good. A critical component of the Roundtable's success is the way we unite leaders from across industries. Innovation doesn't happen in silos. And the solutions we develop together through collaboration have a far greater impact on our economy and on our society. Whether it's addressing workforce shortages, improving infrastructure, expanding access to education, these cross-sector partnerships are essential for driving progress and a prosperous future for Colorado. Throughout the years, this event has become the premier forum for hearing from CEOs and industry leaders. It offers valuable insights into the challenges we face, the opportunities that we can seize, and the path forward for our Colorado economy. Each year we explore a new theme, and that sparks fresh ideas and conversations that inspire growth. And this year's theme, innovation in the face of uncertainty, could not be more relevant. In today's fast-changing world, businesses are navigating a complex and unpredictable landscape, economically, geopolitically, and technologically. Yet it is precisely in times like this, times of uncertainty, that innovation thrives. Bold thinking and creative solutions have the power to transform industries and create new opportunities for all of us. We are honored here today to have executives who are leading their organizations through these complex times, and we will hear from them shortly. Their ability to innovate in the face of uncertainty not only strengthens their companies, but benefits all of us. I hope today's program leaves you inspired in many ways, and in one of those ways is to engage more deeply with the Colorado Business Roundtable. We have a lot going on, and we have a great message to tell, and we are influencers in this economy and in this state. So I'd hope you'd consider joining us if you're not already a member. Thank you for joining us this morning. Please enjoy our program, and would you please welcome our wonderful CEO, Debbie Brown, to the stage. Debbie?
All right, thanks, Dave. And thanks for everybody for joining us this morning. This has been one of our favorite events, bringing together CEOs that have a unique vantage point on what's going on in the business climate, not only here in Colorado, but across the globe. Before we get rolling for breakfast, I want to give a couple special notes of gratitude. First, to George Sparks, the CEO of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, for hosting us this morning. And thank you to the elected leaders that are in the room today. I'd want to recognize them. Representative Ryan Armagost, thank you for being here. Senator Mark Baisley, Councilwoman Robin Carnes, and running for state senate. Where are you, Robin? Thank you, Robin. Senator James Coleman, thank you for being here. I think we have Councilman Richard Holt in attendance. Stephanie Pico, Mayor of Centennial. Here's Stephanie. And Representative Nikita Ricks is also in attendance, I think. Thank you. We're grateful to you. We're also grateful to the sponsors of today's event, Summit Materials, Liberty Energy, Caruso Ventures, St. Vrain Valley Schools, CU Denver School of Business, Aspen Academy, and Mile High Modern. Let's give them a round of applause. A recent Gallup survey in conjunction with Bentley University has been tracking business in society, measuring the opinions of Americans about where businesses are succeeding and bringing about positive change and where they are coming up short. Notably, 63% of Americans say that business has a positive impact on their lives. The notable part of that is that's up from 55% in 2022. That's a big change. The report concludes that businesses are problem solvers, identifying solutions to obstacles in society and making those solutions available to large groups of people. When functioning well, businesses can improve the lives of their customers, employees, communities, and shareholders. This fits well with what you've already heard our chairman say today about business as a force for good. And we talk about business isn't perfect, but it is a force for good. Today, we'll get some inside scoop and wisdom from leaders of companies that have a very unique vantage point from the top. One of my favorite parts of this job as president is really understanding the business community and some of their unique challenges. We had the opportunity as a team to meet with many of them over the summer to figure out what were their top concerns going into 2025 and beyond. And I'll give you a handful of these just to consider as we think about the conversation today. First was really just general business angst and uncertainty. And so this topic is incredibly timely today. Uncertainty in terms of geopolitical instability, the upcoming national presidential election. Can anyone say like that's causing a little bit of angst in the room? Along with the complexities of federal, state, and local policies that impact their ability to grow and conduct business. Number two is just cost of doing business. Not only does inflation affect the pocketbooks of individuals, it affects the pocketbooks of companies. That regulatory framework affects labor-related and environmental laws and the overall effects that it has for their staff as well, including housing and rising costs of resources as well. And then it should come as no surprise, workforce challenges continue to be a problem for employers. Many of you could probably raise your hand to that. Are you getting the pipeline that you need to run your organization as you choose to in the future? As employers are increasingly becoming builders and not only buyers of talent, that's creating some interesting dynamics in workforce pathways and some opportunities for how Colorado Business Roundtable has been more engaged. And finally, I'll just throw out, there's been increasing business distrust and blame among the American people, really not understanding the role of CEOs or thinking that CEOs or businesses are causing some of the inflation as well. So those are some subjects that we'll tackle. All of these are going to be happening. We're going to enjoy our breakfast for a few minutes and then have that discussion with our panel. But a couple housekeeping items before I have you take a break to get to know the folks at your particular table. You're going to find something different this year. For those of you who've been regular attending, there are books actually on your table and bookmarks. We asked some of our board members and some of our partners to give recommended reading lists. So while you're only hearing from 3 CEOs actually on the panel today, these are recommended reading lists from CEOs and C-suite of what they think leaders in Colorado should be reading. And so I think you'll enjoy the reading list. And as you leave today, feel free to take a book. There aren't enough for everybody, but you've got the reading list, and you can fight with people at your table to make sure that you get a book to take home. We don't want to haul any of them home, so I hope that you feel free to take one. It already sounds like there's fighting amongst the tables for the reading list. Another fun idea that we're going to throw out that is also a view from the top is we've partnered with one of our COBRT partners, Southwest Airlines, to offer a prize today. So if any of you like to travel, we're asking you to post about the event on social media. It can be any platform, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, tag Colorado Business Roundtable, and we're going to give away 2 airline tickets anywhere you want to go. I think domestic on Southwest Airlines. So we will reach out to someone in a couple days because we see all the different tags on Colorado Business Roundtable. So we appreciate the shout out on social media as well. And you don't have to fight over it. Everybody has a chance at that one. Finally, I want to introduce our moderator today is Ryan Frazier. Ryan and I go way back. There you are, Ryan. Ryan is the CEO and managing principal of Frazier Global, a management consulting and advisory firm. And you may also think he looks familiar. That's because he is also on 9 News regularly as the host of the 9 News Weekly Business Brief. Ryan has over 25 years experience across business, government, and policy, and he brings a wealth of knowledge and insight into today's discussion. His career spans industries such as asset management, tech, real estate, aviation, healthcare, and more, and we're thrilled to have him guide today's discussion. So before we get started on the panel, we've got a handful, 10 minutes or so to enjoy breakfast at your table, get to know each other. Part of the fun of this event is to get to know other leaders in the room that you can exchange cards and find some commonality with. And then we'll bring up Ryan in a few minutes after breakfast to start the discussion. So thanks everyone for joining us.
Good morning. How are we doing? I got a little energy in the room. Woke up this morning and jumped on my Peloton. Got a little ride through Colorado, and couldn't stop thinking about this conversation we're going to have this morning. View from the top: innovation in the face of uncertainty. Again, my name's Ryan Frazier, and as Debbie mentioned, I'm the managing partner and CEO of Frazier Global. But today I'm here in my capacity as the business expert and host of the 9 News Business Brief, where I get to the privilege of moderating this distinguished panel of leaders, some of which I've known for a number of years and others on which I'm only getting to know now. And I'd like to start off with quick introductions, and then we're going to get into some Q&A. I want to start off by introducing Ron Lopez. Ron is the president of Astroscale. You have to ask him to tell you the story about how that name came to be. Pretty interesting. Astroscale US, leading the company's US business operations since 2019. Astroscale is dedicated to space sustainability, pioneering on-orbit servicing to remove space debris and extend satellite lifespans. Ron brings over 30 years of experience in government and industry, expertise in systems engineering, program management, and business development. Ron started his career as an intelligence officer in the U.S. Air Force. I'm a Navy guy, so I won't hold that against you. But was appointed to the U.S. National Space Council's Users Advisory Group by the Office of the Vice President. Welcome, Ron Lopez. Ann Noonan. Ann is the president and CEO of Summit Materials, where she has led the company since 2020 through a strategic transformation focused on growth, value creation. Under her leadership, Summit has optimized a portfolio of over 80 acquisitions while advancing its goals to become the most socially responsible materials provider in the industry. I want to talk to you more about that, Ann. Prior to the Summit, Ann served as president and CEO of Omnova Solutions, where she transformed the company into a high-performing specialty solutions provider. Ann Noonan, welcome to the stage. And of course, my longtime friend, just an overall great guy, and I can say that because I've known him for a number of years, Chris Wright. Chris Wright is the founder and chief executive officer of Liberty Energy. He is a self-described tech nerd and turned entrepreneur and dedicated humanitarian on a mission to better Human Lives. If you've not ever seen his Bettering Human Lives report, it's worth a read every year. This passion has inspired a career in energy, working not only in oil and gas, but nuclear, solar, and geothermal. Chris completed an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering at MIT and graduate work in electrical engineering at UC Berkeley and MIT. He also serves on the board of numerous nonprofit organizations and is founding board member of the Bettering Human Lives Foundation. Welcome, Chris Wright. All right. So let's get started. I figured we'd let you guys do all the good stuff because I'm just here to ask questions. So, all right. To get us all started, beyond your bios, can each of you start by telling us about your company's mission and the problem or needs that you're solving in the market? Anybody take the first jump there?
All right, I'll go first. Ladies first, I guess. Thank you, Chris. So first of all, our mission, we're a construction materials solution provider, and our mission is to lay the foundation to connect our communities and build a better tomorrow. And they're the words of our employees. Our vision is to be the most socially responsible construction materials solution provider, collaborating with partnerships to drive innovative solutions to meet tomorrow's challenges. And we'll talk more about that later. But most importantly to our company is we're a company about how we do things being more important than what we do. So we're a values-based company, and everything we do is underpinned by our values of safety. Everyone must go home safe every day. We have a zero harm culture, integrity, doing what's right when no one's watching, and sustainability. We'll talk a lot more about that later. And that's not just about greening, being, environmentally conscious. It's about having sustainable organizations for the future. And then inclusivity, which we like to refer to more about belonging, and that we really do live that every day. So the problem we solve is actually really simple. We're not a fancy company. We're a construction materials solution provider. We basically sell rock. There's a lot of money in rock, by the way. We sell cement, we sell ready-mix concrete, and we sell asphalt and construction. So the problem we solve is we serve a woefully underbuilt country. And we serve all three end markets, your residential markets. So think about single family homes where you pour slabs. We serve non-residential markets where you have like wind farms, solar farms, or strip malls. And then we serve public markets, so the roads you drive on every day and the bridges that you have. And so what we do in each of those markets, if you think about residential, since 1960 to 2007, there were an average of 1.5 million homes built every year. That has plummeted to 1 million homes every year. So when you think about housing here in Denver, that's a key issue. So that's a problem we have to help to solve. And then the second market, there's this renaissance of onshoring and manufacturing, the CHIPS Act, the IRA Act, where you have this onshoring and manufacturing, which is driving tremendous growth for multi-years that has to be served as well. And then finally, the historic 1.2 trillion infrastructure bill that is now building our roads. So how we see that we solve problems is providing the materials to build everything that's around you, to build the roads you drive on, the communities your children go to, the schools they're in. And that's our mission, to lay the foundation to build a better tomorrow.
So I'm a little bit at the opposite end of the spectrum from Anne. I work in the space industry, and space is absolutely critical to our everyday lives. Just this morning, everybody relied on space to get here. If you checked your weather app or you used Google Maps, maybe you looked at your bank account, you used assets that are in space, a very unforgiving, complex environment. And there are a lot of companies who have entered the space industry in the last decade or so. A lot of new satellites going up into low Earth orbit, closer to us, Starlink, OneWeb, which we know all about, helping to improve our quality of life and the services that are available to us. Satellites up 23,000 miles away at geosynchronous orbit, providing better communications services to us. The problem is that over the next 10 years, we expect there's going to be 3 times as many satellites and rockets launched into orbit than were launched since the beginning of the space age, since Sputnik. So wrap your head around that. That's just the next 10 years. So what that means is that there's a lot of junk up there. And space debris has become an increasingly large problem, not just from a risk perspective, satellites potentially hitting your own satellites or hitting other satellites, but also from a national security perspective. And the other part of sustainability, and alluded to this in your comments, right, about sustainable businesses, we want to make sure that the satellites that go up there can stay there as long as possible, and that they don't necessarily need to come down and get burned up in the atmosphere, that we can reuse them, recycling, just like we do with materials when they're spent here on Earth. And that was the problem that Asperscale was created to solve. We were stood up by or founded by a Japanese entrepreneur. So the parent company is in Japan. And I moved from Tokyo back to, and I say back because I've been here in Colorado a couple of times now, third time living in Colorado. Moved back in early 2019 to stand up the US subsidiary. So we started everything from scratch right before the pandemic. So my advice is to never do that to anybody, all right? Don't start businesses, and certainly don't try to acquire companies, which we did also during the pandemic. It just makes everything a lot harder. But we succeeded despite the uncertainty, despite all of that adversity. We are close to 100 employees in the US now, most of whom are here in the Denver area, most of which, 50–60% of which are engineers. We have contracts going with Space Force, and we're on the national security side, and we're doing a lot of things on the commercial side of the industry to help extend the life of satellites, address that debris problem, recycle materials, help customers, our customers, be more profitable and more effective and efficient at what they do. One interesting thing was that even though our industries are obviously very different, a lot of commonalities, they have a lot of commonalities in terms of our ethos, our focus on sustainability, right? So we are an on-orbit servicing company, but the focus, our vision, is about space sustainability and the culture that we've established. I heard a lot of similarities, so I'm interested to explore that a little bit later in the dialogue.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone, for being here this morning. I'm thrilled to be partners with Ann and Ron because I'm in the energy business. Our business enables every other business. And I've been passionate about it my whole life. And I would say, to answer Ryan's question, our mission, I wrote a book, and the latest version of it is out as you walk in, called Bettering Human Lives. That is the mission of our business. Today, about 1 billion people in the world live lives recognizable to us. We go to events in beautiful buildings like this. We have personal motorized transport. We fly across the country to visit our parents or our kids, and it's pretty awesome. But 7 billion people don't live highly energized lives like us. And I haven't met all 7 billion of them, but I have met a lot of them. And I haven't met one that's ambition wasn't to live the highly energized lives we do. That's our mission, is to provide more affordable, reliable, secure, clean energy. In that order. If you can't afford it, it doesn't matter. If it's not secure and there when you need it, nothing else matters. And so if you haven't noticed, there's a growing movement in the country, and certainly right here in Colorado, that thinks oil and gas is bad. And we have 6,000 employees. 6,000 people get up and go to work, and a lot of society thinks they're bad. So this is, frankly, it's nuts. But it's maybe part of the reason why we have a strong mission. We're not just doing our jobs. It's not, we don't just go to work to get our paycheck. We go to work because we believe passionately in the noble mission we're involved with. So a few quick things about energy. I went to college to study physics, to work on fusion energy, because the mania when I was a kid is that we're running out of oil and gas and coal and metals, and industrial civilization was going to collapse because we were going to not have energy and materials to continue the standard of lives we had. That was and that remains my mission. We got to energize the world. That was 50 years ago. The world got 85% of its energy from oil, gas, and coal. I just did the numbers for 2023, our latest year of data. 85% of global energy came from oil, gas, and coal. It dipped down to 83% in the year 2000.
It's 85% today, exactly as it was 50 years ago. So we want all energy that's additive and improvement for human lives. As I mentioned, passionate about nuclear energy. We own part of a small modular reactor company. I'm trying to get that company to relocate to Colorado. But that's our mission. And our mission also is to engage with people thoughtfully in what we do, why we do it, and why it matters. And we recently launched a foundation, another way to implement this mission, which is to address the 2.1 billion people that still cook their daily meals burning wood, dung, and agricultural waste indoors. Over 3 million preventable deaths per year from indoor air pollution. Not wildly different than the peak death rate from COVID globally. But COVID was wealthy people, meaning elderly people in wealthy countries. We shut the planet down over that 3, 4, 5, 6 million deaths a year. But 3 million deaths a year of low-income people in low-income countries, almost no one even knows about it. And in fact, we have active policies that are slowing the progress for those least fortunate to move up the scale. So very passionate about energy, and there's no dirty energy, there's no clean energy, there's no good stuff, there's no bad stuff. Everything has trade-offs. What we want is a thoughtful engagement about trade-offs, how to make better trade-offs, how to grow the goods and shrink the bads. But the politicization of energy, and Colorado's been a leader there, deeply unfortunate.
Thank you, Chris. And I would say that there's a lot of people who also understand the importance of oil and gas and the role it plays in powering our economy, and not just the jobs, but making sure we have affordable energy, which is something that we all care about, especially these days with the cost of living being a challenge for so many people. So we want to move to our next question, but I got to stop and just say, Ron, you know, as you were talking about getting rid of junk from space, I couldn't help but think, has anyone ever seen those commercials, 1-800-GOT-JUNK? I can see the commercial now, and I was wondering what that might look like. But
we've got our marketing team back in the back. I'm sure they're taking notes right now.
Okay, I can't wait. So let's talk about uncertainties. What uncertainties are you all currently facing in your industries that are making it a challenge to plan and grow your business? Chris, how about we start with you?
Yeah, I probably started a little bit on that. The biggest impact on our business is the rate of economic growth. If the world or country or society is growing, people's lives are getting better, and that for sure means people are consuming more energy. So when the economy is strong in your region, country, or world, there you have demand for energy growth. The flip side of that, Ryan, is our industries had tremendous improvements in efficiency. You know, 15 years ago, we had 1,500 rigs drilling for natural gas in the United States, and we were the world's largest importer of natural gas. Today, we have 100 rigs, from 1,500 rigs to 100, and we are the world's largest net exporter of natural gas. So awesome for our country, awesome that natural gas prices, particularly inflation corrected, are wildly cheaper than they were, but it means employment's not growing in our industry. Record outputs, U.S. went from the largest importer of oil as well to a net exporter of oil, but less people working in our industry. So look, 200 years ago, 80% of Americans were farmers. Today, less than 2%, and we're the biggest producers of food on the planet. We get 50% more calories per person, and we export more food products than anyone. That's progress, though. So I celebrate improvements in efficiency and getting better at what we do, but it does present challenges. Most of the businesses in our industry are smaller than they were 10 years ago. Employment is smaller, market capitalizations are much smaller. So we're in an industry that's had tough business conditions, but tough business conditions for the right reasons. So super, super proud in Liberty. We've sort of swum against that tide. But that's what the bigger picture challenge. And the other challenge is, what's going to make the world go round? That hasn't changed meaningfully in 50 years. And as a technology and an innovator, it's frustrating. I mean, I work in the nuclear industry. Nuclear went from 6% of global energy to 4%. I want to get it to 10, you know, but that's going to take massive investment, change in regulatory environment, new people, lots of new capital. We want to grow that industry. But hydrocarbons just have such unique advantages. The problem is, where are they going to be produced? If you go the direction of Europe, where their economy is as completely dependent on hydrocarbons today as it was 30 years ago, they just used to be a major hydrocarbon producer, and now they just live on imports. And we saw with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that didn't work well. They're deindustrializing their society. 65,000 people died the first winter after the invasion of Ukraine, not from the war, but just because heating fuel prices had become so expensive in Europe. A wealthy society, always more people die in the winter. Globally, 5 to 10 times more people die of the cold than die of the heat. When you make heating more expensive, force electrification of it, you make heating more expensive, you kill people. In Europe, in the winter of 22-23, they had 65,000 more deaths than they normally do in the winter. There's always excess deaths in the winter. So getting energy policy right matters. Europe, I think, has shown what not to do. They don't make energy-intensive goods in Europe. They still consume them. They're produced in Asia, powered by coal, and they load them on a diesel ship, and they bring them back to Europe. Their cement, their steel, their fertilizer, their polysilicon, and they call that green. But in any case, in the U.S., there's a movement to go the same direction, to sort of deindustrialize the United States and just move that stuff overseas. I don't think that's the American way. But policy matters. Doesn't matter in what powers the world. It matters in where the energy comes from, where it's produced.
Sure.
I'm going to say optimistic things too, I promise, Ryan.
That's the next part.
So uncertainties, right? What uncertainties are? So it's not exactly like, we're doing rocket science. We actually are doing rocket science. Yeah, we don't build rockets, but it's still a very uncertain, challenging environment. The environment that we operate in is itself very uncertain, very challenging. The space industry has structurally a lot of inherent uncertainty built in. It is a capital-intensive, long lead cycle business. So investors that want to invest and get a return on investment next year, not going to happen in aerospace in general, but in space in particular. And so understanding and trying to predict what's going to happen in the next couple of years when it takes 3 years to build a satellite is tough when investors want a return on investment and you don't know where the market is going. Our company is also faced with the additional challenge of creating a new market, right? So within space, up until today, you build a satellite, you launch it, you hope for the best. If it runs out of fuel or there's an anomaly, there was a huge anomaly. A satellite out in geosynchronous orbit literally came apart, kind of blew up a couple of days ago. Very rare, but it does happen from time to time, and you can't do anything about it once it's up there. So we're creating this new market, this new niche to go up and service satellites, to refuel them, repair them, etc. A lot of uncertainty over where that market is going, what the commercial demand signal is for that. A lot of interest from Space Force to counter the Chinese threat, another very large source of uncertainty that I'm sure we'll talk more about later, the geopolitics of that. But that drives a lot of uncertainty. The good news is that it also drives demand and opportunity, right? So in my view, innovation is really about, it's not about technology. Innovation is about putting things together to bring value in a new way to the marketplace. And innovation doesn't happen in spite of uncertainty. It happens because of uncertainty. At least a lot of it does. That's what presents us with a lot of opportunities. So there's always a balance there. So a lot of challenges across the board, and I'm sure we have a lot of common challenges, hiring and retaining good talent, especially on the software engineering side. Big challenge for us. We're government, but a lot of our work is on the national security side, understanding where budgets are going, ensuring that we have budgets that are passed by Congress instead of continuing resolutions that go on and on forever, which has a material impact on government contractors because a lot of times it stops work. So a lot of challenges across the board. And I'm sure some of those are common to challenges we face as well.
Yeah, so for us, we're mainly a US-based company. We have a couple of quarries in British Columbia. So the biggest uncertainty we have in our industry right now, alludes to my last comments, is around interest rates. So while there's been some softening of interest rates, we have a lot of jobs that are just on the side. So we're woefully underbuilt in single family homes. People need homes. Mortgage, until interest rates come back down, it's not going to happen. These big onshoring and manufacturing jobs, they're all literally holding the projects off to the side. So we're sitting here saying, are they going to come back in at 5%, 5.5%? And so planning for a public company, that's really tough. My CFO's here, you can allude to this. And so, one stat that I would share with everyone that's kind of, it's disappointing actually, is I was just looking at this the other day, I was quite shocked by it. The average age of a first-time home buyer has actually risen to 36 years of age. And that is a record for this country. And so that just tells you the affordability of homes, the ability to get into homes and residential. And there's three reasons why, things have to build. You've got, first of all, a lock-in effect. So 60% of current home owners are locked in at, less than 4% interest rate. You've got aging housing of inventory that has to be rebuilt. And by the way, you got 90 million people with generational wealth that need homes on the other side. So planning for all of that is quite a challenge. The second area, which Ron alluded to, is around labor. So we're in the construction materials market. I always joke, we're not the most sexy market around when you think about it. Over 7,400 of our people are on the front line. Quarries, when we started our journey, when we launched our Elevate Summit journey back in 2021, we had a 50% turnover. Now, I came from chemicals where 7% was considered high, so that was shocking to me. Now, through the efforts of all the people sitting at that table over there, we have focused heavily on employee engagement, telling our people, what is it, Carly? They come for the job, they stay for the career, and really working at that at a level that I've never had to in my career to get our turnover. We're now down in the 30% mark, which I'm very proud of. But that is something that we need help with, because as I look around, people, all of us told all our kids they had to have degrees. You don't have to have degrees to really do well in our industry, and that's something we've got to work on. And the uncertainty, while it's improved, of labor for us is huge as we approach all the demand that's coming our way. And then the final area I'd say is weather. We're a weather-based business, and I'm not talking about just the normal weather patterns that we have. I'm talking about impact of being in Houston and having flooding, hurricane, and everything. Think about this year alone, how many hurricanes we've had. Planning that, it's a double-edged sword for us. So I don't want to be all negative on this, because the negative part is here we are trying to plan and get product out to build roads that, we're on projects for. But the other side of it is when big floods come in, it creates a lot of work for us in the future. So there's a really positive for us. But the downside of that is the uncertainty of, we were just talking to Scott the other day, is when do we plan for the next big job that's going to come in? So as a public company, that quarterly earnings, and we give full year guidance, a lot is driven by what is the weather going to do. And then climate change in general, we've got to be careful about where we plan our next investment in innovation, our next investment for the next big quarry, where you're investing for 100+ year reserve. So this is not something you're investing in lightly. And so looking at where there's going to be drought, where there's going to be increased hurricane exposure, that's where uncertainty comes in our investment decisions.
Thank you, Ann. And hey, I actually see a lot of positive in what you all have said, and maybe it's just because of my outlook on the world, but where there's uncertainty, where there's risk, there's opportunity, right? There's opportunity to solve problems, to better human lives, to be business as a force for good. So I hear that as you talk, and I know many others do in the room today. Chris, I was, while I was riding my Peloton this morning, I go through my news, of course, I start off with 9 News. Where's 9 News? 9 News is here. Start there. I start off with 9 News first, and then I move to, CNBC and Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal and New York Times and all that good stuff. And I don't know if you saw that JP Morgan is getting back into trading LNG. Heard about that this morning. Maybe you're following that. But the reason I bring that up is because JP Morgan's CEO, Jamie Dimon, recently called geopolitics the world's biggest risk. Whether you agree with that or not, certainly you can expand on that. But we're certainly seeing a period of significant instability with wars in the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, and the looming U.S. elections, as Debbie referred to earlier, adding further uncertainty. How are these factors influencing your business decisions? And how are you leading your company through such unpredictable times?
Great. Yeah. If we think of geopolitics, I think a lot of people in the room my age, I see a lot of people in the room quite a bit younger. We grew up, the Cold War was the big thing. We did think about geopolitics. There was concerns about that. And then we had sort of a magical two and a half decades where democracy rose, armed conflicts dropped dramatically. We just had a little more certainty, not certainty, but more certainty in a very positive trajectory. And then we're moving a different direction now. Certainly the rise of the growth of liberal democracy is not assured. And so we have some backsliding. The long-term trend is still super positive, but definitely some backsliding. And that matters, and it matters across all of our businesses. And I got to say, I think Ann's business is super sexy. I am in favor of roads and houses and gorgeous buildings like this. In fact, it's hard to overstate how different our lives are today than they were before. And her partners had big businesses like this that enabled this stuff. So Ryan, I agree with Jamie Dimon, who's a super thoughtful commentator. I'm a fan of Jamie's, that uncertainty in the economy, in how materials are going to move and what's going to happen, that is growing. Absolutely. And energy, I think it's one of the things that's starting to swing the pendulum back towards sobriety. We're going to start to get a little more thoughtful about energy and a little more data-driven and less emotional on climate change. In my book, I write about climate change as well. We don't know the future, but we should at least be familiar with the data. What's actually happening? What's going on? Atmospheric CO2 concentration's grown 50%. It continues to rise. Absolutely real, absorbs infrared radiation. Like, this is a real background phenomenon, but it's just wildly misrepresented for political and media and all sorts of other reasons. And that gets in the way of things. Now, people care about their security and their food and their house being heated more. But as we start to focus on geopolitics, having more stuff in America, or at least friendshored from neighbors nearby, that's security of supply chains, not just for our businesses, but for our lives and for our country, has come back into the dialogue. I think that's a good thing. Again, I think we have Europe as a great example of what not to do. There's awesome energy resources below the ground in Europe that remain and will be there for centuries. You don't need to make your society vulnerable. You don't need to make things more expensive. These are choices that we make. The other thing I will say quick that I think is important to recognize is my company's called Liberty Energy for a reason. Global life expectancy was 30 years throughout all of human history, before the invention of agriculture and 200 years ago. Today, it's 73 years. Not everyone lives energized lives like this, but the world has transformed in a few generations. Two big changes: bottom-up social organization, which meant no planning, no chief or kings, saying what you can do and what you can't do. We had mercantilism until the 1840s. You couldn't start a business unless the government of your state in the United States or the king in the United Kingdom gave you limited liability. You cannot have a corporation without limited liability. That's too technical to go into. But this changed in the 1840s, and we got economic liberty. We got freedom. We didn't know where that was going, but businesses competed. They innovated. People's tastes changed. People started caring more about safety and clean air than they cared about food once you've got enough food. So society evolved, but with business as this force for good. Business just innovated and followed tastes, followed trends. And we're seeing a little bit of a swing back of reducing that human liberty, that we the guys at the top should really design society, because those rubes don't really know what's good for them. And that swinging back of the pendulum to a little bit more top-down control, it's why we're building less homes. It's harder to build a home. You can't buy a piece of land and just go build a home. And when we stand in the way of human liberty, and it's a creeping thing, you take dynamism out of society, you reduce opportunities, and you slow innovation. We need a rekindling of just the idea of human liberty business as a force for good.
Thanks, Chris. And I want to turn to you now. The Colorado Business Roundtable engages on public policy issues affecting employers at the state, federal, and global levels. Given how public policy impacts areas like taxation and regulations, what do you wish elected officials and policymakers better understood about the realities of running a business?
Yeah, I think there's opportunity for better understanding in a couple of areas, Ryan. And for us, I'd start with regulation and really hone in on permitting in two areas. One, we operate across all the states in the US. We're in British Columbia, so we're a very local market within 50 miles or 150 miles for our cement, 50 miles for our rock. And even within those small, what we call service areas, regulation can change so much on permitting. And when we're coming in, we have a number of challenges. One, we're a rock quarry, and people don't understand that we leave the rock quarry after we mine it better than it was before. So we put in beautiful solar farms, we put in wildlife habitats, and that's our commitment as a company. It's part of our sustainability. But this lack of permitting consistency leads to problems. And in some areas, like I'd use Utah as an example, it's the not in my backyard, but yet they want a load of houses. Well, guess what? It takes rock to build houses. And if you move it further and further out past 50 miles, then they can't afford the houses. So there's some practicalities that policymakers can help with on permitting for us. That is, I wish they would just understand how committed we are to leaving the land the way it is, and that they would work more on the advocacy side for us in that area. The other area I'd say is we are the #1 US domiciled cement producer. And with that, we are highly committed, as we'll probably talk later, to carbon reduction, and we lead in carbon reduction. We need help on import protections. So while we operate in a 100 to 150 mile radius with our cement, there are times where cheap imports are allowed to come in that are not doing the right things around cement. They're not committed to carbon reduction. And as a result, they hurt our industry. And so we need help on the federal and the state level around that, particularly federal, I would say. And then finally, I'd just end with labor, because it's such a thing for us all the time. Anything that's going to make us less competitive, whether it's in Colorado or any of our other states around wages, benefits, we keep our people market competitive, but that just makes it more and more difficult to do business in an industry that has high turnover. And the other thing is what I alluded to earlier is around help us with apprenticeships, bring the workforce into our industry. We can create great careers. I can tell you, I've got a central region president who earns over $400,000 a year, probably $1 million by the time he's done. And he started in our rock quarry. We literally have examples from people who started the rock quarry and career path them up to CEO. We need help from policymakers to help us do that, because it will help our industry be more attractive as we move forward.
Great, and thank you for that. And I think it's important to point out along those lines, and I think that's why partnerships with higher educational institutions like UNC, and I sit on the board at Metropolitan State University of Denver, are so important to that labor component as well. So good to have some education leadership here. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's jump to you, Ron. With Astroscale operating globally, including in Japan and US, how do you look at navigating geopolitical risks?
Yeah, so, there's a Chinese saying, right? May you live in interesting times, and right now we are in interesting times, right? Chris kind of alluded to this. In some ways, we've come full circle from where we were at the end of the Cold War, and are experiencing a lot of regional upheavals. Back in the day, it was low-intensity conflict, terrorism. Now it's sort of transitioned back to major regional conflict. So very unstable global situation from a geopolitical perspective. Our parent company, as I mentioned earlier, is in Japan, but we have sister subsidiaries, obviously in Japan, as well as the UK, France, and Israel. We actually have Astroscale US has a subsidiary in Israel, which obviously is being affected by the situation there. Our approach, of course, as a business, is global, right? A global presence, but local footprint. So in each one of the countries or the regions where we're located, we have a real workforce, not just a sales office. So high-paying jobs in each one of those countries, folks on the ground who understand their local environment, their situation. That helps us just understanding what's going on from a local perspective helps a lot. And then, of course, the fact that we're regionally diverse helps from a supply chain perspective as well, to the extent allowed in the aerospace industry by export regulations. We share technology as much as possible, information on global suppliers. But having said that, the key is, and Chris mentioned this, onshoring, or more importantly, friendshoring, right? As you mentioned in the intro, I sit on the advisory group to the National Space Council, and I sit on the Economic Development and Industrial Base Subcommittee, and this is a big topic for us, right? How do we shore up the aerospace industrial base? Bringing everything back to the U.S., probably not the right answer, but there are key allies out there, right? Japan, Europe, the UK, et cetera, that we can rely on to make those supply chains more robust and help us overcome some of these geopolitical issues that we're faced with. Interestingly, one of the big challenges that we have, like you do, Ann, is in the regulatory arena. Because it's a nascent market, making sure that we know who to go to in the government for a license. You need a license to launch a satellite. You can't just stick it on a rocket and send it up, right? You have to go to the government. And there's a lot of uncertainty in new parts of the market around who to go to within the government. And that causes a lot of churn. It has trickle-down effects. And there's a lot of effort to try to fix that, but the federal government quite hasn't found the answer yet. Hopefully they'll arrive at that soon.
Thanks, Ron. So let's shift gears a little bit. And when discussing uncertainties, one of the major disruptors that come to mind is artificial intelligence. I remember a few months back, maybe a year ago now, I woke up and all of a sudden I had AI on my telephone or my cell phone. And I was like, I didn't ask for this. It's there. And so it's everywhere. In fact, I just recently returned from Singapore, where Google asked me to participate in a fireside chat to talk about what they're doing with Google Gemini, which is their AI function in the workplace. And so you can't go anywhere. You can't pretty much have a conversation these days without talking about AI and how it's changing industries, disrupting industries. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you all, how it's impacting you all, and what you see as the opportunity or perhaps risk to your industry and your business. So, as I said, AI is impacting every industry in different ways. I'd like to hear, how are you leveraging AI in your organization? What opportunities do you see? So we're talking positive. What opportunities do you see for the future use? Let's start with you, Ron.
A lot of promise, a lot of challenges. Sorry, I know the focus is on, there are a lot of challenges as well. But for us, of course, on mission critical systems, software on a satellite that's up on orbit that you can't go and retrieve if there's something wrong with it, presents a lot of challenges that we are thinking through. Some of the areas where we are leveraging AI is, for example, in vision, where we have a lot of sensors on our satellites. So our satellites robotically dock with the other satellites. They physically grab the other satellites with different mechanisms. And the latencies, the time lag between here and up there is too much to be able to sit there with a joystick and control that. So we have to rely to a certain degree on automated systems to do that. There's been tremendous growth in machine learning and other specific types of AI that are enhancing the safety of operations on orbit. So that's good news. Eventually, we'll get to the point where things are fully automated. We're not there now. But of course, where I think there's a lot of commonality here in this room is in back office support, right? Our marketing team, our marketing and comms, our business development team are looking at AI tools to help improve the quality of writing on proposals, to help streamline internal processes. There's a lot of value to be gained there from a cost efficiency perspective, while not replacing the jobs that folks are doing, but enhancing them and making them more efficient and effective in what they do.
Anybody else want to jump in on that?
I'll jump in just because I know you're all thinking construction materials, AI, really? Well, that's what I thought. And I actually had to, we are in the process of putting together a complete AI strategy, but I was actually shocked to hear how much of it is in our business already when I did kind of let's do the tour around, see what we're doing. We're actually using AI in our ready mix mixtures. So to make a ready mix concrete, you put in cement and rock and add mixtures. And we've actually been able to reduce our costs, increase our efficiency enormously, and cut down months and months of QC testing that has actually gained us business in our markets by using AI in ready mix. And then our cement plants use it for preventive maintenance, which Cement is short in the US, so every time we can keep our plants running full out is critical. So AI has been great for that. And then just finally, the back office, I'd say, is the other area that we've been using AI as well. But we've got a long way to go. It's around us everywhere, Ryan, as you'd say. But we are in the process of really putting a much more comprehensive AI strategy together as a company to make sure we're leveraging. I see way more opportunity than risk for our business.
So real quick, yeah, AI for sure is just a tool that empowers humans more. You know, we run 2.5 million horsepower that all have a bunch of different cylinders within them. How do you run those machines perfectly so they run cheaper and last longer and emit less? How do you do that? You know, we've been working on that since we started the company, but progress is faster now. We can really have set up the criteria you want to optimize, and we can do that. Logistics. So in any case, it is a powerful tool to make our businesses run more efficient. If our businesses run more efficiently, everything you do in your lives becomes cheaper. More opportunities open up for you and your children. So I'm a huge fan of it. Can it be abused? Of course. Of course. There's downsides of every tool that empowers humans, because humans aren't perfect. The last thing I'll say about AI is electricity demand in the United States. We often confuse electricity with energy. Electricity is an awesomely important grid. Only 20% of global energy is delivered via electricity. So wrap the world in a solar panel, you got 20%. What about the other 80? But electricity grid matters, and it is a thing that demand grew very fast in the 80s and 90s, and it's only grown at about 0.5% per year over the last 20 some years. So very slow growth in demand means if you fragilize the system and you make it more expensive and less stable, like that's a bummer, but it's not catastrophic. Now we're entering a period where we're going to need to grow supply of firm, reliable electricity. And where are the places that have firm, reliable electricity? That's where data centers, that's where processing, that's where AI is going to thrive. And so I celebrate it because it's bringing energy sobriety back. We're going to get people to connect the dots about what's locating in their state or their country and what's going somewhere else and why. So a great tool. I think America should lead in it. I think in drug discovery, the opportunities are just awesome. Like lives are probably going to be meaningfully longer and healthier 20 years from now because of things we can do with AI that we can't do today.
Yeah, and with such a fast changing place, I'm reminded of the old saying: the only thing that's constant is change. And I think AI is an example of that. And staying ahead of the curve, obviously, is a challenge, as well as concerns around displacement of jobs and automation, which are all issues that industries are going to have to work with. But as someone who works with a lot of companies around the world, I can tell you that those who are thinking about how it not only drives efficiencies, but can help people think through more creatively how they address challenges and solve problems and ultimately meet the needs, if you will, of a changing society. I think those are going to be the companies and individuals who really lead. I want to move us along here because we have about 15 minutes before we got to get everybody out here so you can get to work and whatever else you have for your day. I want to talk sustainability, favorite topic of mine. And I want to start with you. As a leader of Summit Materials, how do you approach the challenge of creating building materials that are both sustainable and profitable in a traditionally resource-intensive industry?
Yeah, this is an area that is in the DNA of our company, and we made it when we launched Elevate Summit in March of 2021. We identified as part of our vision, we wanted to be the most socially responsible construction material solution provider. And in that, we made a very firm commitment that sustainability was one of our strategic priorities. And it's in the DNA of the company. Every part of the company has an objective every year, whether it's in diesel reduction. Every person in our company is involved in sustainability. But the one I'd point to as where we absolutely lead is cement. So cement is our biggest carbon emitter. So we're the #1 U.S. domiciled producer of cement. So we lean in on that. We lead in carbon reduction. And the one area I will point in is alternative fuels. So this may not please you in some areas, but I'm going to stay there.
Up for all energy that makes lives better.
It's all energy. So what we do is we take in non-hazardous and hazardous materials, and we convert it to alternative fuels that then provide the energy to run our kilns that make our cement. And in doing that, we reduce coal and pet coke usage. So it not only reduces carbon reduction, but it also reduces the amount of fossil fuels. And we just launched the first pre-commercial installation of a pyrolyzer technology in Davenport, Iowa, where we take in non-hazardous waste, and that's allowed us to reduce our fossil fuels by 55%, which is great from a carbon emissions reduction, but also we do everything. Our sustainability programs are all value generative. Our shareholders don't want to hear that we're greenwashing and doing things for the sake of being green. And what that does is it allows us to reduce 55,000 tons of coal and pet coke, which adds $6 to $8 million of EBITDA per year. So every time we do, we measure it. We report back to our shareholders. It's good for our employees. We believe it's part of our mission and what we do. And if you look at the whole of the US and the cement industry, they have alternative fuel replacement at about 15%. We lead the way at about 45 to 50%, and we'll continue to draw that. So we have a number of other programs, but Ryan, I would point on those as areas that we are very proud of. And I'm very proud of our team. I have my chief ESG officer sitting right there at that table, Carly Anderson. And we have really led in this area, and it's something that it's in our DNA as a company.
Ron, as Astroscale is at the forefront of space sustainability, how do you approach the challenge of developing technologies that not only address the growing issue of space debris, but also economically viable and scalable? What role do you see sustainability playing in the future of the space industry?
Sure. Sustainability is the reason that Astroscale exists. That is our vision, to create a safe and sustainable space environment for the benefit of future generations. Having said that, and Anne alluded to this, right, you can't sell a pound of sustainability, right? You can't go to a customer and say, hey, give me $100 for some sustainability, right? You have to provide economic value, and that's what we do. We provide a service, an on-orbit service that helps our customers be compliant with sustainability requirements and with their own internal vision and desire to be more sustainable by helping them find solutions to bringing down their satellites or extending their life so that they in turn are more sustainable. And that's something that they derive economic value from, being able to operate an asset longer or compliance. And that's what they're actually paying for, right? So that's how we monetize that. And it's important because at the end of the day, it all comes back to economics. You have to provide value to something, to customers. They're paying for something that makes value to them. And the trick then, of course, is to do that in a way that is sustainable. That is why our company, we really talk about our business as resting on three pillars. You mentioned technology in your question. Technology is one element of it, but ensuring the economics, which I just addressed, is the other big pillar. And policy and regulation is the other one, especially in new nascent markets, working with government and other stakeholders to ensure that there are policies that are permissive, right? We want business to grow. We don't want compliance policies to be so onerous that it constrains the growth of the space market. And there's a lot of data out there that shows that the space industry is going to grow to $1 trillion within the next decade and a half or so. We want to enable that growth, but it has to be done through smart policies that enable the growth of the space industry while ensuring that things are done in a sustainable way.
All right, Chris, Liberty Energy is at the center of the energy conversation. How do you approach the need for abundant, affordable energy and sustainability concerns as a leader in the hydraulic fracturing energy production space?
So let me go back to Anne's comment. Innovation in making cement, using less hydrocarbons, less materials, done cleaner. She kiddingly said, oh, this is probably bad news for you. Exactly the opposite. This is fantastic. This is the innovation. If we can get more done with less materials, less pollution, less impact, that's progress. That's how the world has gotten better, and we should celebrate that. And that happened because of business. Looked at processes, looked at the way they did, weren't afraid to take a risk, tried something. Maybe that's not going to work, and they went another direction. That's the flexibility that comes in a market, and that's what businesses drive. That's how improvement. I grew up here in Colorado. 50 years ago, I'm in elementary school in Colorado. Population was less than a third of what it was in the Denver area today. And the air was just dramatically worse. Brown cloud. Probably a quarter of the days we could not see the mountains. We have days like that now, but that was quite common, that we could not see the mountains from right here. So population grew, wealth grew, everybody skis and travels and flies in airplanes more. We do way more. The air is just dramatically cleaner. That's technology, that's innovation, and that's some sensible regulation. So there's always a balance of you need regulation. Otherwise, the corner cutters, the people that'll do things the worst, that won't internalize the cost of their external impacts. So sensible regulation makes sense. And I would say Colorado 10, 12 years ago and 30 years ago, very good in this category. And the results simply fantastic. But you can go off the rails on that, and we're demonstrating that right here, right now in Colorado. Let me give one other example to come back for climate change. I'll be quick, Ryan. We hear climate pledges, net zero 2050. Colorado's going to be all renewable. Like these things are beyond silly, and I would just laugh, but they're destructive. They're hopelessly destructive. William Nordhaus, there's a whole field of climate economics, people who study economics, who run climate models, who look at trade-offs of different policies and different things. William Nordhaus won the Nobel Prize in 2018 for climate economics. And what was his conclusion of his work and in his Nobel lecture is that there's climate policies that make sense where the benefits exceed the costs. His climate solution was do the things that work and the things that don't work. By his own math, net zero 2050 is an over $100 trillion human impoverishment program. Like, you could not design a worse economic policy. And we're not going to achieve it, but the attempts to achieve it just justify making things expensive, but putting handcuffs on businesses that are trying to do innovation for this or that. So keep in mind, progress comes from innovation, from trying things and investing $1 and turning it into $2. When you invest $1 and turn it into 10 cents, that's not noble, that's not ambitious, that's impoverishing.
All right, we're going to move to a quick lightning round question. Get us through here, because us Navy guys like to be on time. So we're going to try to be as close on time as we can. So lightning round, what innovation are you most excited about right now in your respective industry? Ron, how about we start with you?
Just on-orbit servicing in general, the technology, the robotics, and all of the AI that allows us to do exquisite things on orbit, helping our customers be more profitable.
Yeah, we have several, but I'd point around the carbon reduction technologies and really everything around the circular economy, whether it's recycling, leading in carbon change, carbon capture, and using AI for that. We're involved in a lot of feed studies there. That's very important. And then I have to mention the customer. Anything that enhances our customer experience, that's where we're very focused, because time is money with our customer.
So we have a partnership with a small company in Fort Collins that makes clean cooking stoves, and we're soon to roll out a meter that's so cheap that in Africa, the problem with clean cooking fuels is you got to pay $20 for a canister of propane. It lasts 20 days, $1 a day, same as a bundle of charcoal, but you don't have $20. So we're working with them for a technology that's going to make it. You can take home that can of propane and just pay $2. Get a tenth of the canister, pay $2 2 days later, get a tenth of the canister. This could be massively transformative and liberating. Simple technology, but quite excited about it.
All right. And the final question will be for all of you as well. I think this is an optimistic, kind of looking ahead type of question. Since we are all here with the Colorado Business Roundtable, and you're all are leading global businesses from right here in Colorado, what do you see as the unique strengths of Colorado's business ecosystem? And what aspects do you think are crucial to preserve as we look forward to the future to ensure we continue to grow and innovate in our state? Whoever wants to start with that. Chris.
Colorado is just a fantastic place to live. Extraordinary outdoors and wilderness, and more importantly, fantastic communities and people. I look around this room. Coloradans are go-getters. Coloradans are doers. Coloradans have their friends from other places come join them in Colorado. We have an awesome, fantastic, vibrant community of human beings, which has made Colorado successful for decades. Super optimistic about that. We need to preserve that. But if we hobble the ability to do business in Colorado, You can take a great community. You're not going to bring us down fast, but you can slow the dynamism of Colorado. We had population outgrowth, I think for the first time in my lifetime in Colorado. That's a signal that let's continue the awesome advantages we have in Colorado and keep making it better.
I just say the diversity of industry in Colorado is really important because it does drive cross-industry involvement. And also, I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I think there's a startup mentality here and an innovation type focus, which is very important. I would echo what Chris said around the quality of life. It does help us attract people to Colorado. And the focus on sustainability is something that's real strengths. Now, what we must keep is collaboration across industries, policymakers, and education to really drive some of the challenges that we have. Continued investment in infrastructure, not just physical being where we are, but also on the digital side, and really continuing to focus on sustainability overall.
Colorado is number 2 in the United States in terms of jobs in the state, number 1 in terms of aerospace jobs per capita. So there is a lot here in terms of talent, in terms of companies, suppliers that we can work with, partners that we can work with. So there's a real sense of a community in the space industry that you don't get in other places. We have great universities with fantastic engineering programs. So we have new talent entering entering into their careers, and we have fantastic support from the Colorado state government. I think we saw some OEDIT folks from the Office of Economic Development. They were very engaged early on in the process when we were moving to the state in terms of helping us qualify for some tax breaks, made it very easy. The city of Denver as well. So all the support, and of course, everything that my colleagues up here have said, it's a great place to live. It's easy to convince people to move to Colorado, maybe not so much in other parts in the United States. So making sure that that we continue to have the support from the government as we continue to expand the aerospace industry here in Colorado is absolutely critical to our success and to everybody's success here.
Thanks, Ron. Well, with that, my mom would always tell me growing up that my grandmother would say, "Ain't none of us here to stay." So I've always looked at things through a lens of, in the time that we have, the time we're blessed to be on this earth, how can we make the most of our time? How can we do our part to make maybe this world a little bit better for those who are coming behind us, for our children and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren? And it's clear to me, just through this conversation today, that these 3 leaders are absolutely doing their part to help make this world a little bit better, to better human lives. And so if you all will join me, let's thank the panel for their discussion today. Carla, thank you.
Wow, great conversation. And nice to hear about apprenticeships. I don't know if you know, but our state is focusing and promoting apprenticeships in all different industries, these stackable credentials and different pathways to a good paying job. So exciting times, pay attention. We have some new approaches and opportunities for our youth. Thank you for joining us for the View from the Top this morning. My name is Carla Nugent. I'm one of the founding partners of Wayfield Group, also serve in the Chief Revenue Officer role. We're a homegrown company here in Colorado. We've expanded to other regions, and we are in commercial and industrial electrical contractor. I also serve on the Colorado Business Roundtable Executive Committee, so I'm passionate about what we're doing here. This event is an important opportunity to gather, share insights, and learn from one another, but it's just a small part of what the Roundtable does. Throughout the year, the Business Roundtable is leading in addressing long-term business issues, convening top voices from across industries, and creating spaces for collaboration and problem solving. I've experienced firsthand the value in collaborating with leaders from diverse industries. There's so much we can do and accomplish together, share perspectives, and work towards a common goal. It's really important for us to continue to talk about business as being a force for good and what we're doing in our communities. I'd like to extend gratitude to my other board members. If you could raise your hand if you serve on the Colorado Business Roundtable board. Also thank our employers that are part of this coalition. We invite you to engage with us to learn more, for those that raised their hand, any of us that are up here, to learn more about how Colorado Business Roundtable showcases business as a force for good. If you're interested in getting more involved, we're happy to share information. If you are big on social media, tag COBRT this morning that you're here. We want to be able to share more information in these convening events because they're important as we change topics and talk about things that are coming and hitting our state and our U.S. economy. We also have books at the table. We invite you to look at that recommended reading list and be sure to grab a book on your way out. It's a great resource. We hope that it inspires you with new ideas and conversations. And we just thank you for being here and taking the time. We look forward to continuing the conversation throughout the year.